Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano catch-up, where every Friday we take a look back at the main news, items and events within the Cardano ecosystem that caught my eye. Lots to go through, ranging from TVL to Cardano project updates, new Cardano Node, some interesting stuff out there about Cardano, and a few other bits that caught my eye with interesting threads. I will leave links to it all below. If you get value, please do share it out. Give the video a like, comment, questions, or even for the algorithm below. I do appreciate it. Let's jump into it. Okay, we'll start out here taking a quick look at the TVL for the last week, and I think going forward I might try and start out with this most weeks. And looking here, you can see TVL is down slightly in terms of US dollar value because the markets in the last few days have been dropping. That means the ADA and native tokens that are locked up, the dollar value of them has been falling too. Might cover the markets on Monday. We'll cover a little bit of it today, looking at the Memecoins and the effect that has had on Cardano too. But if we look down here, you can see that in the last 7 days, lots of red. If we sort it, you can see the only ones that are positive in the last 7 days are Fluid Token up 19% and Vyfinance up 13%. With Vyfinance, the launch is happening on Monday, so the TVL for them should start to rise a bit more even over the next few weeks if they can attract liquidity into the DEX and bar when it launches. They also have vaults for staking, either native token staking or NFT staking. So that has started to gain more traction in the last week or two. And if we do this the other way, then Lending Pond is up first with down nearly 52%. TVL is right down now, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Liquid Finance down 31%. We're going to talk a bit more about that in a minute with DJED and the rewards and the impact that has had. Revudo down 13%. DJED Alliance down 10%. So you can see this has changed to DJED Alliance now because DJED is going to be going cross-chain, and we will touch on that later in the video. So these are linked, the 10% here and the 30% on Liqwid, because I put out this post during the week just when I seen the information myself. We talked a few weeks ago about a whale come in and minted $900,000 worth of DJED and put it onto the Liquid Finance platform because Liquid were offering massive rewards for people adding DJED to the platform. I think it was up near 200% when it came out first. So this person came in and took advantage of it, and that's what it's there for. It's there for people to encourage people to come in with liquidity. But Liquid had a vote last weekend, so they started at the end of last week and finished on Monday, I think, to reduce the rewards that are paid out to the community. So it was coming in that there was about 200% reward, or 200,000 Liquid were given out to the community every month. So that's been reduced now, and it's going to be dynamic based on certain metrics on the platform. But with the vote, it's caused a lot of controversy because it turns out that the team had the deciding votes on whether it got approved or not. The no vote did not change. It was winning up to close to the end, but the team came in then and used their LQ tokens to turn the vote, and it got voted yes. So I don't have a problem with the team getting involved in voting on the protocol, because generally the team will have a good understanding of what's needed and what's needed to really make the protocol grow long term. But this one is controversial because there was a conflict of interest, I feel, here, because the team is still going to be getting the 200,000 LQ per month that they get through the vesting, but it means that the community is going to be getting a lot less. So there's less sell pressure, so it means the tokens the team are getting are worth more. So I do feel they could have sat this one out and let the community decide on this one, since their LQ allocation wasn't going to be affected. Going forward, I think yes, they will be the ones that understand certain dynamics and they will want the best for the protocol, but this one is one maybe they could have sat out. But when the result of this vote came out, the person who had minted the 900,000 LQ last month decided to change it. They cashed in. You can see the notification here. They took away, they burned the 900,000 DJED and took back their ADA. You can see then what that done was pushed the reserve back over 400%, because when they minted, it pulled the reserve ratio down to, I think, 350, 360 at one point, and 350%. So that meant that no more DJED could be minted because there wasn't enough Shen to back it up. We've talked a bit about that in lots of videos, and I might do a dedicated catch up on the whole ecosystem and how everything's working fairly soon. Just in line with that, we got the announcement from Cody that DJED is going to be going to multiple blockchains. One thing that stands out though is it is going to be the same core mechanism is going to happen on Cardano. So that means that everything will still be minted on Cardano from what I can see. And the DJED can be bridged out to other chains then like Ethereum and Binance, and they will be using Chainport for this bridge. So they say in order to provide safe and secure platform to interact with, they have chosen Chainport. That's the same bridge that Cornucopias have used to bridge their Copi token from Binance Chain into Cardano. And it is one of the bridges that I do like because of how they use cold storage. It does add some centralization to it, but it does mean that exploits are harder to do. And if there is exploits, then there's a lot less can be stolen. Next up, we have Charles and Frederick from the Cardano Foundation were on the Messari live stream yesterday talking all about Cardano and what is the latest on it. So Messari put out their report on Cardano probably 2 weeks ago now. I did cover it on the channel and I had a thread going through some of the main points. But they go through it and go through a lot of it in more in-depth information. And Army of Spies actually put out a really good video this morning going through all of the different information in it and talks a bit more in-depth about it. So I will leave a link to his video below if you want to get more of a deep dive summary or an overall view without watching the full thing yourself. Another good resource to get a high level without going through the whole thing yourself is Stake with Pride over on Twitter here has put together some really good snapshots or some clips from the video talking here about community and governance, and they get into Voltaire and how that's going to work and SPO voting, which is coming up soon, and we'll touch on that with the new Cardano Node version. Also going into here, decentralization input endorsers. Charles does say that import endorsers are probably 24 to 36 months away. So it looks like 2 to 3 years before we do have input endorsers fully working on Cardano. I know some people talk about this year, and I had hoped maybe by the end of next year, but looks like it might be slightly further out for that one. Talk all about EUTXO transactions, how they work, how they're more complex or more advanced than simple transactions that you see on some other chains, and the trilemma, the blockchain trilemma, as well as other methods of not just proof of stake or proof of work, proof of useful work, and different ways that the consensus algorithms can work. Good information if you want to check that out. Then in line with scalability, we look at the throughput and everything of Cardano being tested over the last week or two, with Memecoins being highly active, and we'll talk a bit about them then. So Sebastian put out this post here about Cardano is currently at 94% load. Now this was only for a small period of time. You can see on pool.pm, you can always check up the top. It shows you the 24-hour load and the 1-hour load, and it was at 94%. And Sebastian has a good thread there talking about how things can be improved going forward and some of the implications of what this actually means. If we do look at the last few epochs, you can see the epoch that finished 2 days ago was the biggest one on Cardano for a while, with just under 400,000 transactions happening in that 5-day period. If you look at the usage, it was just under 60%. So even though the snapshot there showed 94% load in that particular hour, over the epoch it was at just under 60% usage. So what's happening, you can see even the current one is over 50% usage, which is good to see. And if you look back down here, that previous one was definitely the highest epoch we have had in a while. To me, this is a really good test of the chain and test of the protocols and everything that is running on it for when we do get into the next bull market, because I think in the last bull market, Cardano didn't have much in terms of DeFi. We got a small bit towards the tail end of the bull market, so we didn't really get that surge in users. The next bull market really should be that for Cardano. You can see MinSwap had their highest day, I think it was highest daily volume ever on MinSwap, with 17 million ADA in trading volume. You can see that there on May 8th. So again, testing, it was every application on Cardano was being tested. Tap Tools, one I show a lot here, was really struggling under pressure with just the insane amount of users that were trying to get on to it, and that was down to meme coins. But things are really starting to die down on the meme coin front now that a lot of people have taken profits and moved out of it. If you look here on the underdogs, for the last 3 days, ETH, which not Ethereum. This was a Memecoin that was launched, is down 87%. Stable, one that launched yesterday, will show an interesting transaction on that one in a minute, down 73%. DJED down over 50%. Sneak, even though it's the biggest one right now, I would say, is also down 43%, and even in other time frames down a lot more from the highs that some of these coins reached. So one interesting thing to look at, well, it depends on your mindset, interesting or not, was Stable, which launched yesterday. And this is just one example of what's happening now and how the whales that are in there and in the know are really starting to pull funds out of the market. You can see one person come in here on shows 25 minutes ago. So just after this launched on the MinSwap DEX, they bought 30,000 ADA worth of the token, and then 20 minutes later they sold it for just under 108,000 ADA. So they made nearly 80,000 ADA in 20 minutes just by getting in early before the massive pump happened and then selling out before things actually crashed down. So that's someone who has been around and looked at lots of different meme coins, and most of them have the same trajectory. Sneak had some pullbacks in its early few days and it took off again, but even in the last few days Sneak has started to really fall. If you look here, this is the volume profiler for stake or for Stable, and you can see this is the person here that took out the profit. So they sold 108,000, made under 80,000. This person here sold just under $65,000 ADA worth, and they had only bought 13,000. I think I have the two of them open here. So you can see this person made 37,000 ADA on Stable, and then this is the one here that made nearly the 80,000. So if you are still getting involved in the meme coins that are coming out, just realize that it is pure gambling. There are what I would call these people here professionals in this now, in that they know when to get in early and get out early too, and taking their profits out. So be very careful if you are still involved and playing in it. And once you understand the rules that it is pure gambling, then it's okay to be involved if that's what you want to do. Interesting to see here the NFT volume in the last 24 hours is up nearly 25%. Potentially we're seeing some of the profits from the meme coins flowing into NFTs. I'll analyze that during the week. On meme coins, another one here was Hosky token is now on another centralized exchange, coinstore.com. To be honest, not one that I've used or know much about, but the other implication of this, which I think is good, is that it is another centralized exchange supporting Cardano native tokens. So they didn't have any before. Hosky is the first. Once they have the implementation for one, that opens it up that they can list more native tokens then from Cardano. So I would expect to see more of them being listed over the next while. Then we have the new Cardano Node version, and some people who are in the know on this were asking about the number. So we did go from the old version was 1.35.7 was the last Cardano Node version. This one has taken a jump up to 8.0.0. And this one has had a lot of input from the Cardano Foundation, and they are moving it into the new era. So the Conway era, which is looking into Voltaire and on-chain governance. And one of the big ones here, anyway, for me that stands out, is the governance action for SPO polls. So this is adding the ability into the new node version for SPOs to vote on chain. Some of the first few votes on this are going to be around the parameters on Cardano. So it'll be putting it out to the SPOs to start voting on what they think the parameters should be. I think I covered that one last week a bit more, and as that is rolled out, as the votes come out, we'll take a look at that in more depth, and you'll be able to see what people vote on and decide if they align with your views. If they don't, then you're entitled to move your stake. So as this type of stuff comes out, I will dive deeper into it. Another update on the node side was the Hydra head. So the Hydra node, there is a new version came out yesterday, and Sebastian says here that after demonstrating Hydra heads on the Cardano mainnet in recent monthly review sessions, they've released the first mainnet compatible version of a Hydra node today. That was yesterday. So it is out there now. They are looking for projects to come in, look at the use cases, see what they could use it for, and they're looking for suggestions or what needs to be added into this, and they say they will be able to add that into their backlog and try and bring the changes that are needed to allow dApps to really integrate and take advantage of Hydra. Great step to be at, and looking forward to seeing what use cases come out of this and what dApps actually start to use Hydra. Then we take a look at MELD. So lots of questions around MELD lately and everything that's gone on. We have covered it a lot, so I just want to mention this bit here for anyone who is using it and having issues. They do say there's backend sync issues with the migration of tokens. So this is upgrading your original MELD tokens to the new one. There is a fix coming from that on the 18th of May. There is no rush. I think later in the year is the deadline for swapping the tokens. So don't worry about trying to do it for the next week or even 2 weeks. Wait for this update to come out and then check it out, because there isn't much action happening on the MELD node over on Avalanche yet, or the subnet. So you're not really missing out on much not having it done yet. So I wouldn't be worried about it. Also, they say here about users trying to sign up with the Google sign up. Not something I'm a fan of, mixing that in with crypto, but I do know that Google don't get all of your details. They don't get your seed phrase, but I'm still looking forward to this change coming in instead, where you will be able to get your traditional 24-word recovery phrase, which is what we're more used to using. Did you get your seed phrase? I know using social signups is easier for new people coming in, and it's okay if you want to come in and get a taste, but as soon as you know how things work, get your own seed phrase and then start looking at a hardware wallet. That is always the next step for me. That's it for the MELD update then. So this one here is about the Wyoming Stablecoin, and the reason I'm showing this one is someone was posting here to show that 100% Charles was in at the discussions for the Wyoming Stablecoin and not in the Bahamas. So there was a big thing a few days ago. You can see Charles here actually put out a video talking about his private jet. He has a private jet, and it came up as one of the most used private jets there's a website that tracks all of the private journeys, and Charles came out to say that more than half, probably 90% of them journeys weren't him. He lets someone else. There is a company that arranges charters and people charter the jet, so he earns off that, and most of the other journeys aren't actually him. He said right now he's actually making a profit on the jet, but it was getting some negative publicity, so he came out and done a video talking about it. But in that, it kind of came out then about the Wyoming stablecoin, and he was actually there when people were looking at that he was in the Bahamas because that's where his jet was. But the stablecoin is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity as officials wrestle with how to make it happen. I'm not going to go in depth into it here, but it is good to see that Charles is involved in this, and potentially we could see Cardano involved in this in the future. Things that stood out here was that Charles wanted to know if he chooses to participate in an advisory capacity, could that preclude his company from bidding on work to build out the state's stable token? They do say that they haven't thought of that yet. They aren't sure what it would mean. He also says about Kraken and Custodia, two pioneering and courageous outfits that decided to stake their claim in Wyoming, that you wouldn't like to preclude them from being involved in an advisory capacity or being involved in the implementation of it, potential custodians for whatever stablecoin is built. He says about that Abu Dhabi, he was there and there was people discussing. They don't talk about Wyoming much, but they were talking about the potential stablecoin, and there's lots of people watching on this to see how Wyoming do this, what way they go about it, and potentially we could have Cardano involvement. No links or no information on it yet, but once we do get them, I will keep you posted. Lace wallet. So new updates to the Lace wallet if you are using Lace. I did cover this in one or two videos talking about the Lace wallet. Right now I'm not using it. If you are, a few new updates on it. You can input your 12 or 15 word recovery phrases now. Balance is viewable in multiple fiat currencies, and they are going to continue like this. I think monthly rollouts of new features coming in. If you're using it in the Chrome store, it should automatically update for you over there. I'm going to fly through the last few bits that I have for you here then, and we talked a bit about this on Wednesday night on the live stream, myself and Paddy talked about how meme coins are impacting other chains. We see Ethereum with the Ethereum fees going really high. Bitcoin fees went very high there last week, and that was down to ordinals and the amount of transactions that are happening. Highlighted this post here of one of the Bitcoin devs talking about making a bug fix to make it so new ordinals couldn't be created on chain. I don't know if this type of thing is going to pass, because right now miners are earning more than they nearly ever did on Bitcoin. There is some blocks that the fees earned from the blocks actually surpass what the block rewards are. So miners won't be too quick to welcome in any changes there, but something does need to be done. If you look at the unconfirmed transactions here, you can see it is down under 300,000 now. 300,000 is still a lot of transactions sitting on Bitcoin waiting to be confirmed, but this was up at 440,000 transactions, so it is starting to come down as things get quieter in the Memecoin area. Cornucopias they released a quick glimpse into the Caledo Valley video that I think is really worth watching. I won't play it here, but you can check it out, and some of the graphics look really good. Can't wait to get my hands on that one and get racing, hopefully fairly soon. Have to give it a like too, and anyone watching this, please do give the video a like down below. Token RIOT, so I mentioned these a few weeks ago. They were doing a free mint on Cardano. They have another free mint happening today, Friday, I think 8 p.m. Actually, there it is, 12th of May, 8 p.m. UTC, the mint starts. So probably a few hours after this video comes out. It's free. They say there will be utility on the NFTs down the line. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be, but if you want to take the gamble on spending the few or the less than 1 ADA on transaction fees, then the details for that one will be down below. That concludes the information. This one here is something to look into over the weekend for yourself if you want. The Ethereum beacon chain stopped finalizing transactions they said it happened about 30 minutes ago when he posted. Started working again. Some controversy in it. Just started to see it before I recorded here, so I'll look more into it, cover it next week. But there was a chance that everybody staking on Ethereum would have got slashed due to this and not being a part of consensus when blocks weren't being confirmed. Bit scary, bit concerning, but they say things did start working themselves again. Devs are looking into it. We'll look at the post-mortem on that one next week. I'm going to leave you with this video today of the US congressman talking about how Bitcoin or crypto bros talk about printing money out of thin air, and he says basically they can't do that, but they might say we do it as well. But we're the US government, of course we can do it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have a great weekend. Share it out if you think others can benefit. Talk to you soon.
Crypto bros make money literally by making money, and they've made over $1 trillion out of thin air. They'll accuse the US government of making money out of thin air. Maybe we do, but we're the US government.